If you guys are new to bass fishing, you really need to try this rig because it just catches monster fish all the time, and it's what led me to catch my almost 8-pound bass when I first started bass fishing. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about the best ways to rig a Senko. Now stay to the end because I'm going to be saving the best for the last, and by the time we reach the end, I want you guys to comment down below which rig was your favorite or which rig you guys catch the most fish on. Let's hit the intro and get started. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks so much for clicking on this video, and I just want to start off by saying, if you have not yet, go ahead, hit that subscribe button in this corner or this corner, one of these corners. I'm pretty sure it's this one though, and make sure you turn on notifications so you guys can see every time I post a new video. But other than that, let's get straight into it. So today I'm going to be starting off with probably the most common rig there is, and that is just a plain old Texas rig, just like that. Now don't mind the hair on these things. I dropped all of them on the floor while getting them ready. There is so many ways that people use Senkos, and honestly I think this is probably the most versatile bait on the market. I mean, it catches fish, and really, in my opinion, if I only had one bait to choose from to catch a fish, it would definitely be a Senko. I've caught a lot of big fish on this, and it's always been really good for me. All you need is a normal wide gap hook like that, and I believe that the hook that is meant for a Senko is actually a 3/0. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard before that the best size is just a 3/0. You don't need anything too big. And all you're gonna do is take your wide gap hook, put it straight through the middle the best you can, feed it up until that curve comes, then you're gonna bring it back through, bring it all the way down over that hook eye. When there's line on there, that'll cover your knot, and then you'll see that hook should be lined up with your worm, so all you gotta do is grab it, bring it forward a little bit, and bring it back through. So as you see there, that hook is just sticking out of the top right there. And if you want, if you're fishing weeds, I always get the worm, bring it back up, and just kind of cover that front of the hook. So I mean, I can run my finger like this and I will not get caught, and neither will the weeds. So that's one trick for the Texas rig. But pretty much the goal is you want that worm to be as straight as possible. I mean, there's a lot of people that probably rig it something like this, and you know that friend. You know that friend that does that. So, I mean, just do your best to get that worm straight like that. That is a tip that should help you guys catch more fish. Now, the next thing that kind of goes along with this is all you have to do is add a bullet weight. The one that I just mentioned was a weightless Texas rig, and I like this for fishing like weeds or in shallow water because that really just stays on top of the weeds and it doesn't get all clogged up with weeds in the front. But if you add that weight when there's a lot of weeds, a lot of the time it gets stuck and you just have to take weeds off every time, and it's really just annoying. But say you're fishing a little bit deeper water, maybe 5 to 10 feet, all you got to do is get a bullet weight like this, thread it on the line. You can peg it, you don't have to peg it, and then you are able to fish your Senko in a little bit deeper water, which should work out for you guys as well. So now it is time to move on to bait style number 2, and I picked a shaky head for this one, just like that. Oh my gosh, look at that hair. So this is the shaky head rig right there. All you got to do is get a stand-up shaky head. This is like a Mustad 2 3/0. I cannot remember. All you do is thread the worm onto that spring at the top of that shaky head and bring it back through like that. And again, you want it as straight as possible. I love using this rig maybe in the winter when it's really cold. It stays on the bottom, and what's cool about it, it sits there like this and just stands straight up, and the fish really just can't handle it, and they just eat it. They can't help but eat it every single time. And I really like to use this around rocks. Like I said, really it's a fish catching machine. My personal preference, I like to screw lock, and it just keeps it on there really nice, and it catches a good amount of fish. So that is bait number 2 for you guys. Try that out and you're gonna catch a fish. All right guys, now we are going on to style number 3. Now this one a lot of people don't do, I think, and that's because there's kind of a new type of bait for that. So when the Senko was made, it was actually made as a weightless fluke. I don't know if you guys know what a fluke is, but I'm going to show you guys a picture of that right here. And so this is kind of what this was supposed to be. And I'm not sure if which one came out first, but I know the Senko was supposed to be a weightless fluke at first, and it kind of just evolved into all these different ways that I'm showing you guys, and it's just become like I said earlier, one of the most versatile baits on the market, and that's one reason why I love it so much. So the rig that I have right now is just like a belly weighted swim bait hook. I think it works perfect if you're trying to fish, you know, in that mid depth. That weight will get it down a little bit faster. It has that back and forth darting motion just like a normal fluke would have, and it actually works pretty well. 1, 2, 3. Alright guys, so here is rig number 4 for you guys, and that is just a Carolina rig. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a little tungsten weight, or any heavy weight, could be lead if you guys don't have any tungsten. You're going to thread that on your line up here, and usually what I do for that, I tie a swivel behind it so that weight cannot come back down. And then you're going to have a leader line connected to your Senko, which is like 2 feet to 4 feet. It really depends what you guys want. And really, that's awesome because it just floats really slow. So you can drag it up, pop it up, and that Senko will just go like up in the water column and then slowly come down. And when it's falling, that's a lot of the time when the fish are just going to attack it, and that's when you're going to catch your fish. But with this Carolina rig, you can chuck it out, you can feel the bottom, find the logs, find the rocks, and it really is an awesome tool to use. But that's all you need right there. All right guys, on to rig style number 5. I'm pretty sure we are on number 5, but it's just a drop shot. And now in the drop shot, you're going to need 2 things. You're going to need a weight like this, and you're going to need a tiny octopus hook like that, and that is it. So when you rig your drop shot, there's actually a few ways you can rig it. A lot of people just like going through the nose of the Senko like this, and then when you're shaking it, this whole thing is shaking right above that weight. And you don't want to take your weight off the bottom. You want to make sure you keep contact and just shake this worm in front of that bass's face until really they just munch it, you know. That is one way you can use it. The drop shot is great to keep your bait above the weeds, or if you just think those fish are a little bit suspended, and that should get them for you guys. But another way that you can rig it is actually wacky style. And this is actually the rig that I caught my first ever largemouth bass on, and I still have the picture up to date, so you know, I gotta show you guys a picture of that, and that's right here. That right there is my first ever bass actually caught while targeting bass, and that was a life-changing moment right there. I mean, that bass has led me to where I am today. Not really, but anyway, I was super happy to catch that bass, and I caught it on a wacky rig Senko. And this is a rig that I have not used in a very long time. Who knows, maybe even since that fish. All you got to do is grab your Senko. This is what I like to do. I like to fold it in half so you can find that perfect mark, and you're going to go straight through the middle of that bait, just like that. And you're just going to keep working it off the bottom. You're going to let it sink, and it really has that natural movement floating down, and then you pop it back up, let it float down. It's the same concept as using just a normal drop shot. It's just rigged a little bit different. Alright guys, now we are moving on to rig style number 6, and that is just a Nico rig. Now the Nico rig, you can throw this with a lot of different worms, but I like to throw it with a Senko, and you're gonna kind of rig it like that wacky rig, but instead of going straight in the middle, so I mean if that's the middle over here, I kind of move it towards the front like that. And the difference with the Nico rig is you get a tiny nail weight and you put it in the head, in the thick part of that Senko. Here is a little nail weight. I hope that's focusing for you guys, but all you do, you place that weight straight into the Senko like that, so you guys can see it right there. What it does is once you tie this up on your line, you're going to be shaking this. It's going to look like just a normal wacky worm at first, but then when it falls, it's going to kind of fall head first, and it's going to hit the bottom and stay up like this because this is where all the weight's at. I mean, that is a great bait that you can use at docks, you know, at the end of docks. It weights it down a lot faster. You don't have to wait as long, and it catches fish. All right, guys, you've been waiting for it. Rig number 8 or 7, and that is just a normal wacky rig. This is my favorite bait of all time. I have caught so many fish on this rig that it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm going to throw a few pictures up for you guys. Here, 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 here. I mean, these fish were all caught on a wacky worm. And these are pretty big fish for me. I caught one of my biggest fish ever on a wacky rig, and just under a dock. I mean, this stupid little rig catches some really big fish. Out of all of these styles of baits, they all work, but if you guys are new to bass fishing, you really need to try this rig because it just catches monster fish all the time, and it's what led me to catch my almost 8-pound bass when I first started bass fishing. I mainly like to use this rig under docks. That is literally my go-to. If I'm going to a dock, most likely I'm picking up a wacky rig Senko and I am going to town. I'm a skipping fool when it comes to this thing, And what's nice about this is it's very easy to skip as well. There's no weight added to it, so it just glides across the water. It gets very far underneath of those docks, and it catches the fish that are really hard to get to with any other style of bait. So there's a few different hooks that people use while rigging their wacky rigs. Some of them, they like to have that weed guard. Some of them actually just use a normal Texas rig hook like this one here. I mean, you can always just rig that straight up the middle, but in my opinion, I think having that smaller hook gets them to bite a little bit more. Also, a lot of people will use this tool. And I know you guys have seen this tool a lot. I mean, Bass Pro Shops has probably sold almost 1 million of these things. Yes, I know it is a little janky right now. I had to take this thing apart trying to save like an 8-pound bass's life. So if you guys want to check that video, click right here. So the reason that this was made was because Senkos do tear a lot. So what they thought is if we make some O-rings that we can put on Senkos, they will last longer. So all you do is you put your worm into the tube like that, about halfway. All you gotta do is pull it down. There it is right there. You're gonna pull it down, oh, and then snap it on just like that. And pretty much what people do is they put their hook through the O-ring like that, just like that, and it really stops it from tearing because really it's relying on that O-ring. So I mean, there's tons of ways that you can set up a wacky rig. You can use O-rings, you don't have to use O-rings. You can use normal octopus hooks. You can use hooks with the weed guards on them. It just depends kind of where you're fishing and what you guys like to use. A lot of people also like to use weighted jig heads with wacky rigs to get it down faster. It's all up to you guys. And one more thing I forgot to mention, if you guys have tried fishing with a wacky rig on a windy day, it is like absolutely impossible. You cast to the dock over here, 10 seconds go by, you look over here, and your wacky rig's over there. You set the hook, because you think you got a fish, but you don't have anything because the wind already pushed it all the way over there. It was not a fish. Sorry to tell you guys. I have found a solution to this issue. All I do is grab a little tiny split shot like that, and I put it about 6 to 12 inches above that wacky worm. And what it does, it just gives it a little bit more weight to get it down to where you actually casted. Now it does make it a little bit harder to skip, but that still will catch a lot more fish, and it kind of gives it some more action going down. That's what's awesome about the wacky worm, is it just sits, it sinks and it floats like that. If it's windy, try that split shot and you guys will catch more fish, and I can promise you that. The Senko is an absolutely amazing bait, and I will always have one rigged up on a rod if I'm going somewhere new, because it really just catches a lot of fish. I want you guys to try out these different rigs. If you've already tried all of them, comment down below which one is your favorite and how you like to use it. Or even let me know new styles of rigs that I can use, because I'm always looking for a new way to use a Senko. So that is it for me here today, guys. I just want to say thank you again for stopping by the video and giving a view. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you guys can see every time I post a video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.